Okay, we've fitted the head, we've fitted the latch side, we've fitted the bottom draft excluder. So the only thing that is left are the two components that go on the trailing edge. So the first thing is to cut the Draught Dodger moulding to size. So for that we're going to measure from the floor to the edge of the top Draught Dodger, and then we're going to cut the size. But the next step is actually to fit this seal to the face of the door. So the door has to be fully shut, which this one is now, and we're going to fit this to the face of the door, but part of it has to be actually inside the cavity. So the way it has to be is that such that when you sight along the edge there, you still see just the centre. So part of the seal is always in the cavity. Okay, so we've fitted the seal in the right place. Now it's time to press it out. For this I'm using my long snap blade knife. Just take care with this step. It's important, as always, with adhesive components to press them out like this, but just take care, of course, in using a knife. Okay, you might be using something else for this, depends on how much space you've got there to work with. So we fitted the trailing edge seal. The next thing is to just make sure, double check, that it slides in and out of the cavity without a problem. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so this is the trailing edge moulding. It's the green one because it's on the left. And this is the only time that we fit a Draught Dodger without the fitting packer. And we have to fit it with the seal already in. So let's do that now. Of course, always make sure that you start with a square edge, a nice square edge on the seal. Line it up there. And then start pressing it in the groove all the way down. Before we fit the trailing edge moulding, it's time to refit our guide on this side. Okay, so we're going to fit it against the bottom draft excluder, and that's going to prevent the door just flapping around. We've fitted the bottom guide back on this side. Now it's time to fit the trailing edge Draught Dodger. However, in this case, we're going to have to notch out the bottom of it to hop over that. Okay, so I'm just going to do that, whittle a little bit out of the back of the Draught Dodger with a knife, so that it's just going to cover that nicely. Now we're ready to fit the final component, which is the Draught Dodger with the small seal onto the trailing edge. The idea here is that the seal doesn't quite touch the door. The way that it makes a seal is that this trailing edge seal bumps into this seal when the door is closed. Okay, so we need to very carefully fit it so that we don't quite touch the door. Okay, as usual, take off about 100 millimeters of the liner and face it towards you. Now we're going to push this up so that the corners meet. That's nice. And now sighting along the door, position the Draught Dodger so that the seal just misses the face of the door. We need to do this by hand, and we need to position the seal so it just doesn't quite touch the face of the door. So we don't want it rubbing on the door. And we want it just to bump into the seal that we fixed to the door itself. As always, make sure that you press out fully so that the adhesive has a chance to gain maximum gripping power. So there you have it, fitting of the Draught Dodger's cavity sliding door kit. Just a couple of things to remember to have a good time with that. Firstly, take your time with it. Remember that you may have to cut the bottom guide so that the bottom seal has a clear path into the cavity. Also take your time with the trailing edge seals. They are a bit fiddly, but it's worth getting them right so that when the door closes, they just gently butt up against each other and make a really good seal. Likewise for raw Draught Dodgers here, we could have stained and finished them prior to fitting them. That's preferable to do that, but equally you can stain and finish them once they're on there. Be very careful though, please. Don't stain and varnish the seals themselves, and especially the brush on the very top, okay? Just keep it on the timber and everything will be great. So there you have it, the cavity sliding door kit. Just take your time and you'll have a great seal.